Hey guys, Anthony here, and today I want to do a video which is more internal, more self-exploratory, you know. And I want to ask a simple question: are you truly free? How do you view freedom? How do you describe freedom? Do you simply describe it as the ability to do everything you want, anything you want at any time? Is it because we are modern people, we're people that values right freedom, right? We want to be able to do. We don't want other people to oppress us, being oppressed by tyrants, right? And we want a certain ability of freedom, a certain ability to decide for ourselves what to do, and we think of ourselves free most of the time. But the thing is, are we truly free in general, or are we more led by inner desires that we don't know where they came from, whether it's our spirit, our soul, our ego, those different multiple selves that fight inside of us, or even external entities that we don't see, whether it's spirits or even other people. And I feel like we're generally a people that, in general, that lack introspection, looking inside of us. Okay, what's going on? Where do the desire, I want to do something, but where did that desire originate from? Where did that desire to take a certain action, to take revenge, to want, or maybe jealousy, or it's interesting. I remember a girl in my class um, when we were in primary school. She would talk a lot while the teacher was talking, right? She would disturb the class. And then she would say, when the teacher would ask her to stop, she said, "Oh, I can't help it. It's like it's a, it's it's like automatic, right? You can't ask me to stop." Or she would make excuses as if, and I was thinking the way that she was making her excuses, it was as if she was a robot that was controlled by something else that she hadn't have no control of. She wasn't free, you know. She could talk, she had the freedom to talk for her whenever she wanted, but she wasn't actually free. She was being controlled by something, a mechanism inside of her that made her talk, made her not care about lacking respect. And it's when you realize that, and she was, stepping over somebody else's ability to teach the course. And the more and more I realized that freedom actually comes from a certain having certain boundaries, working within certain boundaries or certain laws, whether they're physical or eternal heavenly principles, heavenly laws. Imagine a city. What kind of city do you want? Where people do whatever they want, or where people are high trust society, where they understand the principle of simply do unto others, one of those heavenly principles. Do unto others what you would be done to you, right? Do unto others what you would them do unto you. So if you see wallet on the side of the street, you look, okay, who does that belong to, and give it to them, right? And not fall into those lower carnal desires. Say, I'm not getting money, I'm going to take the money, right? Because the moment you did that to them, you did that to yourself, right? And there is even a karmic law behind it that you don't realize, that people aren't aware, but people know intuitively. And so, what kind of city becomes more free between the two? Is it the one where people still listen to those lower desires, right? Are free to do whatever they want, or where they have bound themselves to a certain level of righteousness? I remember this verse that Paul used in Scripture. He said, "I became a slave to righteousness," and to him that was true freedom. Because before he was in bondage, he had a veil before his eyes, right? He was acting before what he was taught, being led by his God, anyways. But he described freedom as being a slave to righteousness, whether it's being a slave to the Spirit of God that guides us, or those heavenly principles that simply say, again, do unto others what you want to do unto you. Do unto others what you want them to do unto you. And it's this trust that somebody else, that you would follow that law and somebody else does, that brings actually a state, a country where we can live in freedom, with true freedom. It's this form of bondage, when we bondage ourselves to a certain standard that allows us true freedom. Because freedom is not having multiple choices, being able to do A, B, 100 choices. Sometimes a greater freedom can be having three different choices. Right now, you go to the market, right, and you have 100 the choices of different water bottles, of bags of food that you can buy, bread, anything. And what happens is normally the mind freezes, it panics, it doesn't know what to choose. It ends up freezing and it ends up doubting itself, hesitating, fear of making the wrong choice. Another way into which limited choices can become more free than just plenty of multiple choices. And I think about the US Constitution, right? It says that John Adams, one of the founding fathers, says that when it comes to the amendments, that these amendments, the things that keep the freedom of the American people, they were meant for a moral and religious people. It's not just the amendment itself, but it's the inner character, the inner trust inside of each individual that guarantees those freedoms, not the external freedoms, just having the external rights, right? It's a decision internally for more people to choose morality, even when it's not convenient. It's not being free to do whatever you want. So again, are we truly free? Another way where we might believe as modern people that we're free, right? But the thing is, I remember this Netflix documentary that explained how people the cell phone addiction, and how those companies would take the information from our cell phones and create kind of a map of what kind of people we're like, and what kind of things to grab our attention, ads to pull, and the algorithm that it formed, the algorithm, an image of us, so that we know how to keep us, because they get money from keeping our attention, right? And then we're scrolling, or we're addicted to the phone, or even to maybe it can be pornographic side addictions, or other kind of addiction, talking about other people behind their backs. And then electronic addictions is something that is powerful today. It's like something that's binded to us, like we're stuck in a web, literally, not in a when we're stuck in a web, literally, whether it's a spider web or you understand. Anyways, what happens is this: we understand that we have the freedom to go on all those sites, right? We have so much access, but in this access, it's like we're guided, we're limited. We have these webs guiding our thoughts, our patterns, our behaviors. We're not even aware, and we can't stop ourselves checking our phones. What is the trigger? What is the mechanism behind it? And what are we doing to stopping it? What are the boundaries that we're putting in place so that we can actually escape from those? Maybe sometimes it's turning your phone gray, right? Turning off the alarms, and those things that can help you master the pattern of losing that pattern of always checking your phone, right? Your brain becomes a mechanism where all your chemicals are attached to the phone. They derive their interest, all of their food from it. Kind of this psychic link that gets created that puts you in bondage. And those limitations, saying, oh, I'm going to put the mode where I can only access this app for 2 hours, right? Parts of us are, no, I don't want to. It's a part of us that keep us bound. Yet when we do it, when I started doing it, it's hard, but after, when you start going back and reading more books, then you're at peace, and some people get off social media. I've done that completely, but just sometimes not being on social media too much, you feel the peace of, not being something that I've been implementing more is not when I'm these interspaces, when I'm doing something, I'm focusing either on one video, I'm not multitasking, doing something dishes and hearing and listening. And just one time, I'm noticing my brain become more free for more creative idea. This freedom that comes from putting boundaries, not just having access to anything. And finally, I think about a character, an anime that I like, Haikyuu, a volleyball, right? And it was this character, I think his name was Enoshita, right? He was second year in the team, in the volleyball team, Karasuno, the main character's team. And earlier, said he was counting a story earlier in his first year, where there was a coach that was, he was kind of tougher. Their practice were grueling. They were going to practices. They were hard. They were grueling. And he started skipping with two other comrades, right? And at one point, he was tired of the practice, of the harshness of it. So he kind of skipped a few times, and a few more times. Then he just stopped going altogether. He wasn't under this boundary of he needed to, after school at this time I have this hour, I've had this practice, these reps. No, he had no more of that boundary. He could wake up earlier, he could go to sleep later, and then you would see him eating food at a time where normally he'd been practiced. He would feel that freedom, that relief, but eventually started getting more and more boring, more and more like there was something missing. And then he understood that he went back because he desired, there was something in that practice, that volleyball, that stirred him. Sometimes being under pressure can be harsh, but there's a passion, there's something that gets built into you, whether it's discipline or just the enjoyment after you practice, and then you see the fruits, you see the freedom that you can have because you're skilled on the volleyball court, right? Another character later talked that the people who are the most free are the most skilled, right? When you're skilled at volleyball, you have a certain freedom where you can play different moves, act different ways, be more creative because you've got the basics, and you've got your body has gotten used to the usual stuff, right? And it can build on that. That's what you get from the grueling practice. So even discipline, putting yourself in a boundary, into a certain cage, and saying, oh no, I'm going to practice this much, can lead to freedom. People who train themselves, physical grueling, going to the gym, and later I look how I'm healthy, and some people are not healthy, and when I'm healthy, my body has freedom to move in different ways. I don't have the limitation of somebody that's overweight. A form of bondage that lead to a state of freedom later down the road. And this is the thing. Sometimes people, they listen to every one of their desires, their self. They think this is who I am, right? You can my true self, but they don't understand the multiple egos that they have that speak, that want to keep them locked in loops, right? And they satisfy themselves. It feels good to listen to those egos. It feels good to follow those patterns. But choosing to say, no, I'm going to not choose them. I'm going to let them go. I'm going to choose another way. It feels harsher on the body, harsher on the mind that's got used to those patterns, right? Like roads that you've stepped on so many times that it's gotten used. And then you stop. And you put boundaries in yourself. You say, no, I'm not going to do that. And you start forming other patterns. It's not easy. But then it leads to a freedom when you broke a bad habit that you had with a relationship, with a person, a communication issue that you had where you started screaming or getting extra with someone so easily. And then you stop and you stop getting triggered. You've gone over that trigger, and what happened when that trigger is off? What happens? Boom. You're free. Those things, external thing that used to pull you like a dog. You were like a dog on a leash. You had a leash. People started saying something. It was like they were pulling. You went, la, 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 la. They said something else, la, la, la. But then the trigger's off. The leash is off. They pull. Doesn't matter. Freedom. This is what artists do too. When they want to become creative, they put themselves limits, boundaries. What do we mean, boundaries? You can only draw within a certain space, or I'm going to use only a certain color, right? Or only a certain style. And those limitations, those bondages, lead to more creativity. It pushes you to your edge. So again, asking yourself this question, are you truly free? And are there maybe boundaries or steps that you need to take, limitation that you need to put in your life so you can actually taste true freedom and not be bonded by this image of freedom where you have all those desires, all those wants, needs that you want to fulfill, but you don't even know where they come from. And look into yourself, where do those come from? Which one needs to be put to death with the old nature? And which one are from the new nature? Your spiritual nature, your truest nature. Anyways, that's all for today again. Are you truly free? Peace.